All right, what's going on, all you landers? Let's timestamp this one. Friday, November 21st, 2025, timestamp. Boom, there it is. All right. So we're up and at 'em bright and early. I've done a couple of sessions with patients, and then we're going to go off to the gym for about 45 minutes of some really high intensity interval training. I'm looking forward to a nice sweat. We're going to cleanse. We're going to cleanse this weekend, and then I'll fast following a nice protein and fat packed meal. I'll fast for 48 hours this weekend and then eat Sunday. All right. I'm not going to talk about things unless it has to do with your fitness and health. And at this point, the majority of things out there are going to have to do with your fitness and health because you are exposed to a lot of these things out there and they affect you directly and indirectly, whether you realize it or not. All right, so we're going to talk about the recent money laundering that happened in the state of Florida with a particular congressperson. Their political identity, who they represent, does not matter. The key to all of it is to understand that the system that we are currently in is full of money laundering. That's what these programs, these social programs are all about. This one specifically, FEMA. All right, and so this was a case in which $5 million were laundered. There was an overpayment of some sort during COVID-19. Look, the COVID-19 pandemic was exploited by corporations and politicians and special interests alike, and you'll never get the money back. And with these money laundering issues, we have to look at it for what it actually is. It's more than just money laundering. It is a lack of accountability that is a microcosm for the lack of accountability that we actually have for the individual self. Right now, there's a lot of lack of responsibility, taking responsibility for a lot of things that are going on, right? There's no accountability with how many people we have in our country, for example, where social program money is going, who it's going to, what entities are benefiting and exploiting the money. And therefore, we also have to talk about not just accountability, but the sovereignty. If there's no accountability, how are you supposed to maintain the value and equity and the energy and effort that you put forward out there into the event stream, into your community, into your family? You're being taxed without representation through the Citizens United Act of 2010, which if I were president, that's one of the first things that I would repeal is the Citizens United Act, right? That would be an executive order, and they could sue me and take me to the Supreme Court and all those things. But you already have taxation without representation, and that removes your sovereignty. Remember, your health is your wealth. And if data is being laundered and information is being laundered and then used to deceive the public, we're talking about a loss of sovereignty here because you're being misled down a road where you're paying taxes and you think it's going to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. But if you looked in the state of Minnesota, $100 million went missing and nobody's getting it back. There's no accountability. And so your taxpayer dollars are going somewhere that you don't even know where it's going. The Department of Defense can't account for trillions and trillions of dollars. And it is widely believed that up to $21 trillion, actually some say it's more than that. So whenever they tell you it's one number, it's actually something probably a lot higher. Okay? Trillions of dollars missing. Nobody knows where it's gone. Somebody knows, but essentially the money's being laundered somewhere else. And this is removing your sovereignty. The state in which an individual can bring forth their willful intentions, right? The health of themselves, the health of their community and their families, to benefit themselves, to benefit their family, and thus benefit the community as we go out there with good intentions and sincerity, with moral and ethical principles, and we go out there and others want to emulate that. We feed off of each other. These things are contagious in a society, in a community, for the betterment of the community, of the collective. That's being removed from you by which you no longer have to take responsibility for yourself. You leave somebody getting beat up at school to the school. It's the school's responsibility to ensure the safety. No, 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 no. It's deeper than that. You must take responsibility and accountability for the actions of your family. That is your problem. That is your fault. You have failed that child. Now, we can call it a failure, and if we learn our lesson, it becomes a lesson and not a failure. But in the meantime, we are failing ourselves and we're failing our community. And we're failing to take action for the removal of your sovereignty. So at this point, whenever I see people post politically charged things about one specific candidate or one specific political party, they are a duopoly, folks. They're on the same side. It's all political theater. Every bit of it is political theater. You must take responsibility for your actions, and it starts with taking a step forward outside or in the gym or in the kitchen. What you choose to eat at the grocery store, what you choose to eat. How inflamed do you want to be moving forward? This is where we're at, folks. It is very simple when you break it down into its simplicity. It's complex until you break it down. And it's very simple. There's a lack of accountability. There is laundering and mass corruption occurring. And that corruption at the political level is just a, well, I would say, which do we want a microcosm? All right, the microcosm is the personal corruption and inflammation. And it's a microcosm for what's going on around our communities and from a bigger picture. All right, there's corruption in government. I don't dislike government, I dislike the corruption. And that's what's happening, and it's stolen your sovereignty, and it's stolen your wealth, your health. This money that was laundered during a pandemic. When you have a vulnerable population, it makes it easier to exploit. You are very vulnerable in your emotional instabilities. When your emotions are controlled, your behaviors can be predicted. You become very vulnerable. This is why when we go through heartbreak, if I'm talking with somebody and they're going through heartbreak at that specific time, I'm immediately going to start evaluating what they're going to do. Do you plan on being out of town? Are you getting out of town for the weekend? Or what are you up to? Are you going to take time off work? Are you going to stay active? What are you going to do? Well, I'm meeting up with a few guys, so we're going to go out for a few drinks and just kind of unwind a little bit. All right, so automatically operational risk management is going to pop into my head, and I'm going to say you're vulnerable right now. You're in a very vulnerable state. Therefore, you're more likely to make irrational decisions like getting in a car while intoxicated and driving home. So your risk of drunk driving significantly increases. Your risk of getting in trouble and being put in jail for something is significantly higher. You are at a vulnerable risk. Your risk of getting into a fight with somebody significantly increases the moment you decide to go to a bar anytime in the evening. 8 p.m. to 2 p.m. in the morning, every hour you spend in the bar, your risk of confrontation significantly increases, especially when there's alcohol involved. You're not going to the bar to play chess or checkers. So this is what we need to start accounting for. When you are in a vulnerable state, your sovereignty will be taken from you emotionally. And that's what's happening right now. So when I mention all of this stuff going on, people ask me, why do I need to understand this manipulation? Why do I need to understand what's going on, the way the world's working right now? It is to safeguard yourself so as to live in the moment. And so transformation can occur individually. You can do what you want to do despite all hell breaking loose according to the news. Because things are changing doesn't mean that we can't move along in the moment and continue to plug away at the ideas that are brought forth from our imagination that you want to bring to the public or bring into your own personal life. And that's where we're at. This this is why I discuss these things and why they relate to your fitness and health. Look in to these money laundering tactics that are used. This is why I don't donate to charity and round up. They always say round up. I've never heard them say round up when you go to the grocery store more than they say now. Would you like to round up? Would you like to round up to what? You don't know where the money's going. You don't know what these charities are all about. Many of them are money laundering. You don't know where they're going. They claim that they're going to a certain cause, but you don't know that for sure. You must investigate. And when you do, you will find, most likely, that there are special interests involved and that the gears that grind and turn to make sure that that organization runs, somebody's getting paid. This is called grifting. And people know what I'm talking about. So keep that in mind. This is the state of the union. This is the state of one's attempt at individuation. You individualize. You're an individual. You have autonomy until you start pawning responsibility for people's behavior off onto the school system, metaphorically and literally speaking. When you pawn responsibility off onto government, its inefficiencies will glare over time as it starts to affect people's behavior, emotions, and their health. Keep that in mind, folks. Happy Friday. Peace.